welcome to Speakers Institute Corporate's Thought Leadership Series on Carry the Torch. Hi, my name is Craig Johns, the CEO and Managing Partner of Speakers Institute Corporate, and I'll be your host in today's session. Now, for those that don't know me, I'm a 10 times national champion, international sport coach, and CEO to high performance leadership expert, and the CEO and Managing Partner of Speakers Institute Corporate. Now, each month we hold a 30-minute thought leadership series, and we range through multiple different topics along the way. But today's one, we are going into the world of how to create a legacy and the importance of us being custodians in this world. Now, it's quite, I suppose, relevant right now that in Australia we have Reconciliation Week, which is based around building, which is very similar to building a connection to carry the torch in a way, and what we're doing in this session. And the beautiful thing is with Reconciliation Week, and for those who are unaware, it's about how can we build the bridge and the gap back to and recognize the First Nations people in Australia, the Aboriginal people that were first here on the land, and making sure that we can reconcile maybe differences of opinion along the way and make sure that their voice is heard, matters, and that we care for it as well. So I think it's a beautiful thing. So if you haven't already and you are in Australia, see if you can get out and be part of one of the reconciliation walks that are occurring this week. Now, a famous person who you may know once said, "Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth." Muhammad Ali. I want you to think about, when in life has someone made you feel a little bit small, maybe worthless, felt a little bit excluded, maybe even a waste of space or not good enough. You may have even felt like you don't belong. Maybe you've even noticed yourself something along the way and you've turned a blind eye to it. Maybe it was rubbish on the ground. It could have even been leaving the lights on as you walk out of the house or the office. You may have even walked past someone being picked on or a behavior in the office and gone, "It's not my problem." But from our first step until our last step, what is our footprint on this planet going to be? Our time on this planet is really short. And it's important to understand that our time on this planet is isn't a right. It's actually a responsibility. It's our responsibility to take care of the land we stand on, the families we're brought up in, the communities we belong to, the companies that we work for, and even humanity in a way. We've been put on this planet to carry the torch. As George Bernard Shaw once said, "Life is no brief candle to me." And when we think about that, we are handed a torch when we arrive on this planet, and our job is to never let the flame go out in a way. Our job is to carry the torch. We may have been in those times where we were growing up, or any time in our life where sometimes people just want to blow your flame out, so to speak. Those people that just, whether they do it consciously or subconsciously, don't actually want to help you in a way. They try and put you down, or they prevent you from being who you are. Maybe they micromanage you in a way. But then you think about those people that have kind of made your flame glow brighter, so to speak. So how can you be that person that when you are holding your torch, whatever role you're in, that you ensure that the flame glows brighter and that you're not putting out anyone else's flame? Now, I come from a place called New Zealand, and in New Zealand we have a beautiful word called whakapapa. And whakapapa is about genealogy. It's like this interwoven DNA And it's about, from our ancestors and their interwoven DNA of the ancestors and who they are, what they've done, the people they've connected with, right through to the present and into future generations we'll never meet. When we talk about carry the torch, it's in life, we are often passed on a torch from someone. Someone passes us a torch. So say we're in the family, it's from our grandparents, great-grandparents, other ancestors, gets passed down to our parents, and they pass us a torch. And then we have this opportunity to carry that torch and then pass it on to future generations. When we look at whakapapa, it's a sense of belonging, it's a sense of connectedness. And I want you to think about in your role, in what you do, whether it's in a company, whether it's in a community, whether it's in a family, that torch you've been passed has been taken care of before you. It's been given to you in a state. And I want you to think about how you can carry this torch, but not only protect the torch, but hand it off in a better condition than when you received it. Our role in life is not a right. Our role is not just to live. Our role is a responsibility to not only protect what we have, but to harness it and leave it in a better place. And I want you to ensure that as we go throughout today, you think about those opportunities where you've been passed a torch, because you won't just be handed one in your life. You'll be passed many. And I want you to think about how you can leave the world in a better place. Now, when we're thinking about carry the torch, I want you to consider the Olympic torch in a way. And the Olympic torch is a flame, and the flame of the Olympic torch is a symbol of continuity between ancient and modern games. It started out as a ritual every 4 years to honor the Greek god Zeus. And the Olympic relay, where they hand the torch from one person to the next, is about the continuity between Olympic Games. It's about the connection between different cultures and different people. It's about transmitting a message of peace and friendship along its route. So the Olympic torch and flame is a symbol of continuity from the ancestors and recognizing them, and been able to continue that forward to the present and think about how they can leave the Olympic as a movement in a better place for the future generations. Not only they do it for the athletes, but they also do it for the world. They think about how can they leave humanity in a better place? How can we put things in place to create greater sustainability and environment, and think about the environment more? So not only is it peace and friendship, it actually goes beyond that to how can we leave humanity and this world in a better place through the movement of the Olympics. I want you to pop into the chat right now. What is coming to mind for you when you think about a torch that you currently are carrying? What torch has been handed to you? It could be being a parent. It could be a leader. It could be your knowledge and expertise around the environment. What is it that you carry the torch for right now? And it's great to see you, Anna, Chris, Miley there in Canberra, Shabana in India and Mumbai. I think Abhishek's from India as well. We've got Jess there in the Philippines. Julie's about 10 meters away from me. But for you, what is it that you carry the torch for? Pop it in the chat. Family business. Okay, Chris, so great. So you got a family business, and that's around agriculture and the farm. So Miley as a parent, as well as a coach and a leader. Excellent. Keep them coming. Anna, educating young generations. So your torch is as an educator to pass on knowledge and to educate our younger generation. I think that's beautiful. Actually, I'm just thinking about generations. for me, I find it fascinating. We kind of position generations in their little pockets, and we label them. And I find that fascinating. And we kind of go, oh, that generation, I don't understand them. But for me, we created the next generations. We're the ones who, because of whatever was happening for us as we were growing up and in the environments we wanted to create a better place for the future. So we started creating this environment which has led to the next generations maybe behaving or valuing something differently, but that's an extension of us. So we are that generation. When I hear leaders and I hear politicians, or I hear people talk about generations as silos, as being different to them, I find that fascinating, because I feel we are part of them. If people want more social interaction and they value more purpose, that's not just the next generation, that's us, because we've created that. So I think it's something fascinating to be aware of. And when I think about that, we are custodians. You know, we are given something, we are custodian, we're only here for a short time on this world. So if we think about the word custodian, it comes from the medieval Latin custodia, sorry, I've got bronchitis, so I'm struggling a little bit here. And it's around to, watch, guard, and protect in a way. So if someone is a custodian, their responsibility of taking care for something or protecting something. And so, when we think about, in a family, we are there to protect the children. We're maybe there to protect the family dynasty in a way, or the family values. It doesn't mean we can't change it or we can't amend it, but we are there to protect it and think about something along the way. So if we are something that guards and protects or maintains something, we need to think about what that is and really treat that as a responsibility rather than a right. We don't just get given a job as a right. We don't get paid as a right. We have a responsibility to improve what we do, to improve our customers, our clients, but to improve the overall environment inside a workplace or whatever the purpose may be. So we are here for 3 reasons. And I want you to write these down. We are here on this planet to, 1, receive the torch. Number 2, carry the torch. And number 3, pass the torch. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples where I see this done really, really well. In New Zealand, we have the All Blacks, and they're quite famous around the world for being the most winningest sports team over the last century. So it's more than 75%. I think like Manchester United is around, it's actually under 60% now. So the nearest ones are maybe around 60%. It's quite phenomenal for a team that plays all the time to be able to keep that high performance level, especially from a country of just under 5 million or around 5 million people. But they have a saying in the All Blacks, and that you are required to leave the jersey in a better place. The jersey is not yours to own. You are just the body inside the jersey, and the jersey has been passed on from many other great players from previous times, in rugby. So right back from when they first played in the 1890s to where they are now in 2023, they respect that jersey and know that they are just a custodian of it. They get to wear it, but it's not theirs to own. And that at any given day, that could be passed on to someone else. And their job is to leave a legacy in a way. It is to receive that with great respect and handle it with care. And along the way, try and advance that jersey in a way, like they want to evolve that position or evolve the team. So when they pass it on, it's in an even better place than before. So it's about progress. And it's like your role. If you have taken over a role as a professor at a university, you're not the first professor. There have been many professors before, but you are now handed the keys, so to speak, to be the custodian of that area of expertise in the university. So how are you going to now enhance that, protect it, enhance it, not forget about the past and rewrite it or totally destroy it? No, how do you utilize that? Because that's what's got you here. So how do we utilize that, harness it, and think about what we can do to improve that learning, to improve the environment for the next generation of learners in that space, no matter whatever age they are, to be able to learn more effective knowledge than what we knew before. So maybe we're even here to all plant trees that we will never see. You know, our impact in a way when we are carrying the torch quite often is invisible. We don't always even know the impact we have. And I would probably, without doing any research on this, I'll have a guess that 99% of the people that we actually influence, we never meet. We don't even know about. Because of who we are and what we do, the influence we have goes far beyond who the people we even know and interact with. So how will you carry the torch? No matter whether you're a parent, a coach, a speaker, a leader, an employee, maybe the prime minister, a musician, an entertainer, a teacher, could even be an author. We're all leaders. And true leaders are all stewards for the future. They take responsibility to add to the legacy. So I want you to ask yourself here, of the different torches you may be carrying, what is your one job on this planet? Above everything you do, what is the one thing you have to do on this planet? If you're going to create an impact, if you're going to leave a legacy, and this, you know, for some, this may be family, for some, it may be a role, for some, it may be even something that's not even invented yet, or it could be an era, it could even be a community. But what is your job on this planet? I want you to think about what that actually is. What are you here to do? What lights you up? What allows that flame to burn bright? What is that flame that you're going to protect, that torch you're going to protect and maintain, like to look after, to protect it, not maintain it, protect it and enhance so that flame can burn brighter for future generations? What is it that needs doing? And think about this from, what is it that needs doing that probably won't happen unless you take responsibility for it? What is that? What is that thing that needs doing that unless you take responsibility for it won't happen? You know, we've got Chris on here and he does some amazing work around, talks a lot around climate change. And he talks from a perspective of being on the farm and being a farmer. Now, there's a lot of other farmers that could have done that, but Chris has decided to use that as his torch and an opportunity to make an impact on the world. So what will your legacy be? How will you carry the torch? It's a big question. But if we're only on this planet for a short period of time, why not make the most of it? You're probably thinking, we're talking about carry the torch, we're talking about legacy, being a custodian, you know, that's someone that has hold of something. But you're probably wondering how we can do this effectively. And so we're going to take a look at receive the torch, you know, how, you know, when we receive it, what is a really good way to receive the torch and even think about it? To how do we carry the torch? And then also then how do we pass the torch on? And so I'm going to take you through a couple of ways that I find really valuable when I'm helping people when they're thinking about their legacy or they're thinking about the role that they have in this world, and what are they really responsible for. So the first part here is receiving. So when we receive something, like we may receive a job, we may go into a job that someone else already had, or go into a workplace that some other people have already been working in, or we may even be handed a project that someone else started or thought of. And there might be some people that say, hey, look, I didn't really like the way they did that. Or, you know what, I've got ideas. I'm just going to scrap it and start again. But I think what's important first is that we always receive with gratitude. When we receive the torch, when we're handed something, we're handed the reins or a project or a task, or maybe you have a baby come into your world, a new child. Receive with gratitude. Respect the past. There are reasons why people may have done the job in a certain way, or there might be reasons why an organization has chosen a path. There could even be reasons why people have approached your idea in a different way before. And I think it's important to respect that and understand it, because just because we may not agree with it right now doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just may mean we don't understand it. So how can we respect that past and try and understand a little bit more? And always respond with grace. Whether we like what we're going into, whether we don't like what we're going into, whether we're unsure, it's always important to respond with grace, because we haven't walked in their shoes yet. We don't know what they were dealing with, and we're not sure what we're going to have to walk through yet. When we look at carrying the torch, it's important to protect with care. So, when we have that responsibility in a role, we have that responsibility in, caring for a child or whatever it may be, or it's a new idea that, like, maybe it's artificial intelligence. How do we protect that with care? What are the unintended consequences and the intended consequences, or the second order consequences that could occur because of artificial intelligence? So we need to protect with care. We need to be very curious to learn not only what we are thinking, we need to kind of step outside that, because otherwise we can get caught in bias in how something should be done, how something should be protected or cared for. Maybe ask those people, be curious. I've got Aroha, which is Julian, my baby girl, and she's 4.5 months now. And I'm so curious because I can see, why does she do certain things? Is that in response to the way we're behaving? So are we taking enough care? So even there, I'm always curious to learn. But I also want you to have courage to evolve. If you're carrying the torch, have that courage to evolve it, not only to protect it and guard it, but how can you evolve it? So maybe Shabana, as someone who's involved in talent development and learning and development, have that courage to evolve what has always been done. How can you maybe even look at it at a different perspective and go, how can we learn this a better way? How can we improve our talents? How can we create a better environment for them? And then we have passing the torch. And I think it's important that when we pass on the torch, and I'm just going to stop sharing for a second because I think this is important. Sometimes when we pass on the torch, so maybe we're finishing a role, you've either made redundant, or you've decided to retire, or you've chosen to do a new job for whatever reason, whatever the reason you may leave. I think it's important to always leave with your character and integrity held high. No matter whether you love the job or you didn't like the way you left it, or maybe even something a community group you've been working in. But just going, I'm too busy now, I can't do it, I'm out today, and not actually passing on the torch, that's not living with character. So how can we live with character and integrity? How can we ensure that our character is deep when we pass on the torch? that if they decide to change whatever it was that you were working on or the role you're in and decide on a different direction, live with character. Don't be spiteful for that. Don't be jealous that they've changed it. I think it's also important when we pass the, I'm just going to, that when we pass the torch, that we also make sure that we have presence of mind. And quite commonly, when we're passing on the torch, we can be in a hurry to move on. But how can we be present in that situation to ensure that we have presence of mind, that when we're handing over something, maybe in a family, you've got grandchildren now, when you're handing over to your children to look after those grandchildren, that you have presence of mind to put yourself in their shoes. Or say you're in a role or a project and you're passing on to someone else, have presence of mind to be curious because they're going to be passionate and excited about it. So make sure you're there with them. Not just because you're finished and your job's done, be there with them. And the final part is to trust and surrender. If you're a leader and you give a task to someone or you've set up a new job role for someone, trust and then surrender control to them. Too often we hold on to control. We're like, oh, I can do that better, or they're not doing it fast enough, or they haven't quite got it yet, so I'm not going to quite trust them yet. But we need to surrender. And I know for me, sometimes this is quite difficult when you own a business or you're really experienced in something. Sometimes it's quite difficult to trust and surrender. But I think it's valuable. If we're going to be a great custodian, whether we're a leader, whether we're a parent, whether we're a community, involved in a community or in a project or a manager, it's so important that we receive the torch with gratitude. We carry the torch where we protect it, but also be curious to enhance it and then pass the torch on with character and trust and surrender. The most inspiring leaders play a bigger game. They play a more important game. What is your legacy going to be? How will you carry the torch?